Hey, viewers, welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. Got a 2004, it's a Chevrolet, it's a Colorado. It's got the big 5-cylinder, the 3.5 liter, and it has no 4-wheel drive, so the guy wants us to check that out. Took a little rip around town. It does have a service 4-wheel drive message. Gosh, I can't talk, man. You guys are gonna have to bear with me here. So yeah, there we go. We got our service 4 WD, and we have no buttons over here, nothing happens. Engine lights on, ABS lights on, tranny don't shift, all kinds of stuff, but we're gonna fix 4-wheel drive. Keys on, got our MDI 2 hooked up, power supplies on it. We're gonna pull some codes out of this baby. So like I say, folks, bear with me on my speech. I got a new expander put in and my tongue is swole right now because I have this annoying chunk of metal underneath it. Brush your teeth, let me tell you that. Anyhow, we're gonna be using the Tech 2 Win here. I do have a real Tech 2, but this is easier for you guys to see. So we're gonna fumble our way through this here. Let's go diagnostics, and this baby is an 04, I believe. It's a light duty truck. It's a Chevrolet. It should be a T. There we go. It's the Colorado. We're gonna go powertrain. It's got the 3.5. It's the automatic. Read the codes. Transfer case codes. Service requested. We only got one code. 3027. Gosh, I'm foaming at the mouth there. I've been trying not to talk today, but here we are making a video. C0327. Excellent. Okay, well, let's grab, because there's really nothing more to see. That's the code we have. Let's get some service data, and let's see what a C0327 is. I don't think you can read data on these. Oops. I'm pretty sure these older ones you can't. Might have some bidirectional functions. Engine up, throttle actuator, ATC controls. Okay, so we can turn our indicator light on and off. We can run the motor on it. See if that does anything. Hold the brake, put it in neutral. Well, we don't want to do that because we're not in the car. Okay, we hear the front axle moving. That's good. Let me put this thing in neutral. Let that back out. Hold on, stand by. Brake is on, it's in neutral. I don't know if these have a lock. I don't think they do. So I don't know what this is going to do, but we're going to push buttons. I don't hear it do. I just hear this high frequency noise. I don't hear it doing anything. So we'll keep that in mind. That's pretty much all we can do. Alright, let's look up the code set criteria here. So we're going to use our Mitchell Pro Demand here. You guys can see I've got in here as an 04 Chevrolet. We're going to go to diagnostic information and procedures, and we'll pick out our code C0327. There's a hot tip here. There's some broken links that never work on Mitchell from an old system they had. Circuit description. I'm in no position to be reading, especially words with S's. Let's see what it says. Transfer case shift control module has 4 encoder circuits. Each circuit supplied 12 volts. The 4 circuits are A, B, C, and P, because that makes sense. We don't know what they are. It could make sense. Each circuit runs to a switch located inside the encoder motor assembly. When a particular encoder circuit is active, the switch is closed. 12 volts is grounded by the switch inside the encoder. So that sounds pretty simple. 4 wires, they're all supplied 12 volts, and it pulls it to ground when the switch is closed. Okay. Transfer case shift control module supplies 12 volts on all the circuits. The module can interpret the location of the transfer case shift position when the circuits are grounded. Well, that makes sense. Basically just said the same thing it said up here, except it tells you that by looking at each individual circuit and seeing which one is grounded, it can tell its position. This code detects a fault when it compares the shift sequence / strategy to a chart located in the read-only memory within the electronic control unit within the transfer case shift control module. So it looks at it and says, hey, you're supposed to be this according to my ROM, but you're not. So turn the light on. This is accomplished by the module reading a different combination of signals being grounded while the other remain high depending on what mode range the transfer case is in. Okay, so that makes sense. So that's what it's looking at. Conditions for running has to be on, key on, okay. Conditions for setting, we already learned that the transfer case shift control module sets code when the encoder signals do not match the chart contained in its memory. This code can be set while no shift is requested or while a shift is being performed. So basically it's looking at it all the time. Sees it mess up, boom. What's it do when the code sets? Drooling. All motor activity will stop. All accessory mode indicators will be commanded off. The service forward drive indicator will be on. If a new mode is requested by the driver when the DTC is either current or present in DTC history, if a new mode is requested, the transfer case control module will allow the shift to two-wheel drive mode. Wow, transfer case control module now allowed further mode changes. So that's where we're at. All of our mode indicators are off, which they are. We have no lights on except the service forward drive light. So it's kind of a piss pot that we can't read data, because that would be really nice to just look at it and say, okay, which one of these switches is working, which one isn't. And perhaps it would be nice to have a little chart to say, two-wheel drives this, four-wheel drives that, four-low is this. What combination of those four wires make for a proper input. Check the inline connector C105 for proper connection bent pins. Okay. C105, we'll have to keep that in mind. Check the transfer case control module connector C1 and C2 for bent pins. Okay. Water leaks in door, bulkheads, test description. Diagnostic, let's see, do we have, that's for the schematics, that's the parking brake. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Using a DMN as the encoder motor, test circuits A, B, C, and P for proper voltage. So if you remember right, we want to see, it says here, it says it puts 12 volts on it. So we need to check that. So that's a quick and dirty test. Unplug it is our module, is a transfer case module putting 12 volts down at those four wires. That's a test that we can do. A, B, C, P, check it for opens, ground. I hate going down the whole flow chart of broken dreams here, but replace the encoder motor, replace the module, then give up. Okay. I wish we had a little chart that would tell us A, B, C, and P. Let's get our schematic. That's powers and grounds at DLC, that's useless. Encoder motor schematic, here we go. Transfer case encoder motor. Of course, we can't see the jiggly bits on the inside, so we don't know who's who. But we know we have A, B, C, P like Papa. And then we have our actual motor control down here, which interestingly enough, we tried to power this baby up with the scan tool bidirectionally, and we didn't hear anything happen. We heard the front end engage, but we didn't hear anything here. Okay, then it has a 4 low switch. Okay, so that's transfer case shift control module. Encoder motor. What's that have on to? Is that a ground? Okay, and that's a ground. So we have a ground. We have our two wires running to our motor that power that, probably either direction, I would assume. And then we have our 4 switches. Let me see. I'm going to poke around. I want to see if I can find us a switch chart so we can tell, is this thing actually working? We may get down there Who knows, we're speculating now, but this is the time to grab your data. I've mentioned numerous times that fixing cars is 80 or 90% of this, and 10 or 20% of actual touchy-feely. So I'm going to see what else I can find for us. Switch control inputs would be really nice if they had a chart to say who does what. Alright, so here is the motor, or the transfer case shift motor, I guess it would be. So this is where our switched wires should also be. That connector looks clean. So let's just try to identify some things first. Again, sorry about the slurred speech. I haven't been drinking, trust me. I'm gonna start though. I got our diagram here. Let's see, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wires. We got 4 there, 3 there, okay. Should have 2 blacks. Black and a black, yep. And the red. Blue with the white, okay, yeah, that looks right, yeah. Just at a glance, that appears to be right. Okay, so our 4 colors, actually, I'll tell you what. Let me get this up on the screen for you, be easier to see. All right, let's see, where did we leave off here? Had to walk away for a little bit. Let's switch inputs. Here we go. Okay, this will help me too, so I don't need these stinking glasses. Let's see, we are looking at these 4 wires here, A, B, C, and P. Let's enhance, 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 enhance. There we go, there's some old guy vision. All right, red, white, yellow, black. All right, yellow, black, red, white, and then we got like a brown, white. What's it say there? Brown, white, and we got one more. So we got brown, white, red, white, and then the blue, white. Okay, so that's on the other side of the connector. Okay, so those are our 4 switches. Let's see. Well, a couple things. Let's go to the motor, which is pin B and pin C. And these are labeled B and C, so this is red and black. So A, which should be blue with white, and it is, and then B, and then C. So we're gonna very gently front probe these. What I wanna do is see if we can light up this test light by activating the motor. So I'll leave that dangling just out of your vision. Stick that back up here. If I can get that stuck there for you, then we'll pop open the scan tool. Okay, let's just pop back to our scan tool. Let's go to the output controls, motor control, enter, turn it on, and we got no light. That's interesting. I would assume, oh, there we go, now we do. That's on, that's off. Maybe it's trying to turn it now and look for position. I don't really know what's going on. So that's interesting. Take a while. Turn it back on. Oh, when I turn it off, it doesn't sing, but I hear something click over here behind us. But either case, I guess that tells us circuitry-wise we're good. It's got to be a low amp circuit because these are pretty tiny wires. So I just used a 1/4 amp test light. Okay, so that tells us something there. That's just something I wanted to know myself. Let's do this. Let's do pin E as our ground. Okay, let me get a T-pin here. We'll grab one out of the old hat. Here's a T-pin. So pin E. So we got A, B, C, D. E should be in this corner. We're very lightly going to front probe that. I'm going to use that as our ground circuit. I don't know if the 12 volts coming down these wires is enough to light a 100 milliamp test light. It may not be, but we're gonna give it the old college try. So we're just gonna pick one. We're gonna go on the old red and white here. And we're gonna see, it may not light this. No, oops, no sir. So that could mean a couple things. It could mean our ground is bad, which we're assuming it's good. We're gonna go back into that ground. I'm just gonna go down these encoder wires here. It's not lighting the test light on any of them. So now we're gonna be smart about this. We're not gonna assume that it can light a test light. Well, we're gonna assume our ground is bad. We're just gonna check that. We're gonna grab a ground off the transfer case shift motor. And I'm just gonna do that again real quick just to see. And it does not light the test light. Okay. So now what we'll do is we'll be smart about it. We'll go grab a meter and see if we have 12 volts, because technically we should have 12 volts on the brown, the red, the yellow, and the blue, according to our diagram. So let me go get a voltmeter. All right, so I got a DVOM here. You guys be able to see that. I just grounded with the black wire here up on the transfer case on the chassis. And let's just start, I got it up on your screen there. We'll just start right to left. We'll start left to right. Get where we can see it. So P, brown with white. Brown with white survey says we're hoping for 12 volts. 13 volts, because we have our battery tender on it. Now I'm gonna take our test light, and we're gonna see with our test light, it should pull that to ground, because like I say, it's probably a very low current circuit. Based on how it works, I'm just gonna touch our back probe, see what that does. It's doing nothing, because I probably have a crappy ground here. So get a good ground here. There we go. So it pulls it down to, 250 millivolts. Take my test light off, goes back to 13 volts. Okay, so that's why it didn't light the test light. That's why I didn't light a 100 milliamp test light. So that gives you an idea of how low current that circuit is. So, okay, so that is, where are we at here? That's brown and white, so that's P. Then we'll go to A, which is blue with white. I'm gonna probe that. 13 volts there. And then yellow with black. You guys following along? If you're not, it means we are right here. Encoder B signal, that's 13 volts. I'm going to do our last one, which is C, red with white, which is, should be this wire right here. 13 volts. We have everything we need on those. Unenhanced. So we know this wire is good, that wire is good, that wire is good, that wire is good, and our motor control appears to work. What we have left is our ground. Of course, we don't have any current on it, but we can check to see if at least doesn't have ghost voltage. Tells us a little something here. So let's plug into our ground. Should go around 0 volts. Should steady out. Okay, so that tells us our ground is good with a grain of salt. It's not doing this right here. It's not a bunch of ghost voltage. It's not a broken wire. Doesn't mean that ground can carry current, but it does mean the wire's intact. Now I did find something for us here, folks. I found this on the Identifix. Couldn't find it in service data. Here's a little chart I was looking for. When we're in 4 low, P should be at 0 volts, encoder A, encoder B, encoder C. So all of them should be at 0 volts except for B. So what we want to look at right now, so it has low, high, 2 high, 4 high, neutral. So in 2 high, we should have 0 volts on P, which is on your screen here. So we're expecting to see 0 volts here, 12 volts on A, 0 volts, and 12 volts on C. Of course, in order to do that, it needs to be plugged in. So first of all, let's plug it in. Let me get the wires untwisted here so we can back probe them easily. So, okay, so the encoder motor is plugged in. According to this chart that I got off the Identifix, which we need to kind of take this with a grain of salt too, because I did not pull it out of service data. It's somebody else's type up. Hopefully it's good. I'm gonna make sure we've got a good ground here. And according to this fella, 2 high, P, which we look on our screen here, brown and white, should be at 0 volts. So I'm going to back probe brown and white. Let's see what that says. Brown and white is near 0, 5 millivolts. Can you guys see that here? Turn on the light temperature. So 5.7 millivolts. And then it says pin A, or A, encoder circuit A. Blue with white should be 12 volts. So let's see. Blue with white, we're gonna back probe that. And it's at 13 volts, correct? Okay, and then it says, where we at here, 2 high, B, which we look here is yellow black, should be at 0 volts. So we're gonna find it. I'm gonna unplug it so I can get to that side. We're gonna back probe We have a good connection. We have 13 volts there. I'm going to plug it back in. Yellow with black. B is supposed to be 0, and it is. Unplug it, it should go high again. Oops, pulled out my back probe. Let me make darn sure I had a good back probe on it, make sure our test is valid. Okay, there's 13, I'm gonna plug it back in, it should go to 0. Okay, it did. Make sure we didn't push out our back probe, we didn't. Unplug it, and now we need to go to encoder C, which that one is supposed to stay high at 12 volts. And that is the red with white wire. So we're gonna back probe red with white. I have it unplugged right now. Okay, that's high. Too high. Plugged in, it stays high. So that's really interesting because theoretically, this should work. And why doesn't it? Because it appears that we have everything we need. Now we don't know if the encoder motor itself is good, but that didn't seem to be part of the code set criteria. According to this chart that somebody kindly posted on Identifix, it is correct. We have 0 on P, 12 on A, 0 on B, 12 on C. Interesting. We also know that that ground is good because that's what's pulling our switches down. Let's go back here. Let's interesting. Okay, so I did hear that try to turn. Let me turn the drive shafts here. Alright, so that's interesting. It is definitely in two-wheel drive. Let's exit out of this. Give that a second, we'll back out. I don't know why it continues to run that motor control. Alright, then we're going to exit again. And then let's just go to codes. We might have a bunch of codes because we had it unplugged. Nope, we didn't. So that's interesting. What about back out of here? All right, yes, we want to clear this. Oops. All right, let's go see if the lights work now. It's kind of bizarre. Let's leave the wheels up off the ground here. Oh, look at that, the lights lit up now. Oh, enough thunder. Let me sneak in here and move our brake pedal depressor. I think it's gonna be depressed as me. Let's fire it up. Two-wheel drive. That sucker shifted right in. Four-wheel drive. 4 low. What do you gotta do to get neutral? I think we can hold these two for neutral. I can't remember if you gotta do a key on, engine off. Foot's on the brake. I can't remember. We don't really need neutral. Nobody uses it. Wow, be deaf. I just piss you off. Should just friggin' cleared the codes when I first got in it, huh? According to service data, though, I thought it was self-clearing. If the fault wasn't present, it cleared itself. That just sucks. Awesome. We hear you clopping around there, trying to hide.
What?
You trying to hide?
No, I just thought you missed me.
Nope, we got you.
Can't see me now. Oh boy. I can't get through the other side. I got it all blocked off.
Hey, you're clipping and clopping. You got your...
Trinity says, I hate those shoes.
I like them. I think they're pretty.
Like I sound like a 2-footed horse, Trinity. You should like it.
What goes clip, clap, bang, bang, clip, clap, clip, clap, clip, clap. Amish drive-by shooting.
Oh,
come on, you didn't know that one? Well, ain't that a pisser? What are you gonna do now? Nothing, because it works. Well, I guess give it the benefit of the doubt, you know, looking at the diagram, there is that C0105 connector, which happens to be right here by the battery, which is great. Doesn't look like anybody's touched it. I see the Christmas tree still intact. We can look at that connector. We've already looked at the connector in the transfer case motor. And then I guess we could look at the ground. But that terminates under the underhood fuse box right here. But we could look where it terminates this G103, wherever that lives. But I guess first let's look at this. I don't know what this thing is. Some kind of aftermarket garbage. We'll pop out this C105. Like I say, this thing appears to be a virgin. Doesn't look like anybody's ever had it off the box. Let me see if I can get it off another way, because it's going to break that Christmas tree fastener if we do it this way. There we go. Let's just get this little lock tab up. I don't know what you guys can see, but it's a little tight down here. Get the lock tab up. Hit the button. Come on, baby. This would be the one that would be crappy. I would think if any of them were going to be crappy, just because it's next to the battery. Like I say, looking just visual inspection, this truck doesn't really look like anything's been touched other than, you know, the aftermarket stuff here. So the female half here looks nice and clean. Male half's nice and clean. Don't see anything, no weird funny business. Now, technically, we should have just set a code. We should have a C0327 in it now, because we just open circuited the entire circuit. So in this connector here, we have both the motor control circuits, all the encoders, the 2-wheel and 4-wheel drive signal, front axle actuator, and that's it. So let me, shoot, I already closed out the scan tool. Let me just look inside and see if the lights went out. Yes, the 4-wheel drive lights no longer are on. So that tells me, you know, we set a code, which I anticipated that we would do. Technically, if it works like service data says it should, we should trip the code, and clearly we did. So let me latch this back onto the little Christmas tree fastener. And we did, we set that C0327. So I'm gonna back out and just clear that back out of there, and that's just from unplugging it. So G103, lower left side of engine, that's the one we're after. I looked at, which is number 15 on here. There's number 15, so it's back here on the back corner of the engine, according to OEM service data. And I come up here and I can see hints. They're looking a little crusty. You know, obviously it's working at this point. Are there issues at certain points? It's only 3 wires, 2 grounds. One of those is G103. I assume it's a single one. I don't know, just take them off, put new eyelet on it, call it a day. There's that one. Oh, there's actually one more back there too. Not knowing exactly which one is G103. We're gonna do them all. Honestly, none of them really look terrible except for where the wire hooks onto them a little bit. This one looks the worst. I'll just pull right apart. I don't know. We're wasting our time. You guys know from watching any of my 1700 videos that I put out, I never go on wild goose chases like this. kind of nonsense. Always follow the data, because then you end up at places like this where you're just following a wild goose chase. Let me just wiggle this one. Yeah, I mean, this is the greenest one of them all. This one's pretty green. I don't know. I've unhooked them. I'm gonna cut them, just put new eyelets on them just because. Other than that, we have no more data to go off from. The connectors look clean. The only connectors we didn't check are at the transfer case control module itself. There's a couple PIPs put out by GM, which essentially is just wild goose chases. You know, check every single connector, check the fuse box, check the window for window leaks, check everything, which is just nonsense. That's stupid. Don't ever do that. That's just, like I say, if you got no facts to follow, you're just guessing. Like I say, this one here seems the crappiest of them all. I'm gonna put 3 eyelets on it and we're gonna ship it. There's that one. Those are doubles. This is single, and I'm just gonna stick them right back where they were. Alright, that's it, baby. Well, we did good now, folks. We fixed it till it's broke. Now it doesn't even friggin' run. I set it down, turned the key back on so I could check it for codes. It doesn't crank. And when I look, and yes, everything's hooked back up under there. You know, I had those few wires unhooked. Diagnostic, gotta go back down here. Well, 4 light truck. Chevrolet, and then we had a T, oops, here's a T, Colorado, powertrain, 3.5, automatic, codes. The only codes that's in it is for loss of comm with the ABS, which I assume somebody yanked the fuse out of. So that's the only code that's in it, is loss of comm with ABS module. And then, unless I just got luck of the draw, something freaking died. I mean, it acts like the dang starter's junk. Let's go to 3.5, 4-speed. We want codes and we want transfer case codes. See what we got here. So no codes in the transfer case. This is starting to piss me off, man. Junk. Let's see. Let's find the starter relay. Mini relays. Number 62. That's this big honker right here. What's this guy? Let me get a relay bypass jiggy witcher and see if because I went to power moding to make sure that the key was, you know, make sure it could recognize it. There's no security issues, there's no nothing. We can back out of here. Back out of here, back out of here. Back out, whoops, Colorado. GM, you go down to power mode, and you can see right now we're in the run position. Now when I turn the key to retained accessory, power accessory off, and crank, it shows all of the power modes there, so that tells me that that portion of the ignition switch should be okay. Let's just see about this fella. Let me get a bypass. Sometimes the guy just wants to go home at the end of the day. Okay, that's off. Let's stick our bypasser in here. All right, look at that. So that cranks over. Why the heck aren't we receiving the crank signal? See if it'll start. Oh, she got a no start. Starter motor's good. Son of a frig hole, man. Come on. All right, let's grab us a ground. I'm just gonna look at the crank circuit, the start circuit, what it takes to turn this relay on, then we'll work our way backwards. All right, according to this, the relay, we know from the relay out is good, so fuse number 43. Let's see here, fuse number 43, the start relay. Let's find that. That should be good because we cranked it by bypassing it. 43, that's one of those big jumbos over here. and that looks good. And of course, we know that one's good because that's the, I tell you what, you guys are only gonna understand this if we get it up on your screen, so let's just cut the crap. All right, I got us a test flight here. We're gonna need to do some checking. So up on your screen, you see the wiring diagram here for the starter relay. That's what we want to turn on, which we know this part of it's good. We know this side of it's good because let's look here, our purple wire, that should go to the starter, right? And it does, that goes to the starter. We know the starter's good. We know the battery cable there is good. We know the purple wire is good. We know this fuse is good because we already tested the load side by bypassing it. What are we missing? What are we missing over here? This side of it here, we got a park neutral switch, lower left side of transmission. That comes from ignition fuse 23. So let's find that. Let's make sure that we are good on the power side. So number 23, I'm gonna find that here in my fuse box, 23, which is 22, 23, which is there. Power on that side. Are you freaking kidding me? We got a bad fuse? How do we just randomly blow a fuse? Huh. Right? Am I being stupid? What did we blow a fuse? We had to key off, we changed a couple grounds. There's that fuse, there's that fuse. That fuse is junk. Yeah, it's burnt too. Let me grab another 15 amp. And when I initially turned the key on, when I set it back down, I checked code there, I didn't hear anything. Didn't do anything funny. All right, well, that's weird. Let's stick this baby in there. Okay. Is that it? Let's move the computer here. If it is, I did a lot of pissing and moaning, but I don't know why that would have just randomly blown a fuse. All right, Eric, that's what you get for getting pumped. Gosh. Put this thing back. What the heck is this thing anyways? Oh, some kind of GPS device? Pop's watching you, baby. Let's pull this baby out. Or something else goes wrong. We're gonna take it for a rip. We're gonna make sure the four-wheel drive works. Quitting for the day. We're not driving the truck now because we don't have any license plates. The fellow who owns it, which I knew this, was sending some people down to pick up the plates because he's switching registration, something like that. So as soon as I pulled it out, they pulled in the license plates. So I gave them the license plates. However, when I was out there when it was idling, I noticed this earlier and I was speaking to the guy about it. It runs like crap. It stalls, even just sitting here idling, which Mrs. O was telling me that people are here to get the plates. It stalled 3 or 4 times, just quits. I had hopped in there and the engine light was on previously, but it wasn't on now because, we had everything hooked and cleared. I was in there looking, I could see the fuel trims were just going all over the place. It appears, if I had to take a WAG, which is a wild old guess, looking at fuel trim, looking at the O2 sensor, it looks like it has an upstream O2 sensor that is semi non-functional. It looks like it sticks, let's say at 100 millivolts. And then the fuel trim starts correcting until it just kills itself. Not an uncommon issue. However, when it was working and it appeared normal, it appeared to have a vacuum leak and appeared to be running really lean. So we may have a couple of issues there. Long story short, as they say, he left the vehicle. He's gonna bring me plates. And I told him I don't know what's wrong with the 4-wheel drive. It's fixed, it works. So it's kind of a stupid video of I don't know. But we're waiting for plates and we're gonna come back in part 2. Stick around.